with me trying the Carolina Reaper Flaming Hot Cheetos. Honestly, I think the black bag one that's like extra, extra hot is hotter than these. And these have a little touch of sweetness to them, which it did say on the bag, sweet Carolina Reaper. I feel like I've had hotter. It is Wednesday. Yeah, you too, buddy. It is Wednesday at around noon. You can see I'm in bed. I did get out of bed this morning. My uncle called and needed a little bit of help with his computer, so I helped him out. I think he's all set now. And then shortly after that, I crawled back in bed. I had been feeling a little bit better, and then I felt like I got hit by a truck again with more work stuff. This one I didn't see coming, and I'm not really going to talk about it on here, just in case. But it's been giving me really, really, really bad anxiety for the past, 24 hours or more. Kind of depressed again. I thought I was sort of coming out of it. I feel like I just got shoved back into the bottom of a hole. I don't know. My logical part of my brain that still does function, thankfully, even though I don't listen to it, is telling me it's fine. It's not that big a deal. It's not the end of the world. It's whatever. But with dealing with that kind of thing, with depression and anxiety, especially anxiety, it feels like the end of the world. Everything that causes a small amount of stress can feel like the end of the world. And, oh, hey, buddy. So, struggling. Like I said, it's Wednesday. I had Friday off, Monday off, Tuesday off, Wednesday off. And I worked every single one of those days, and it's my own fault. It's absolutely my own fault. I'm not upset about it or anything, but it's one of those things, too, where things are so stressful at work that it makes my anxiety worse to not know what's going on. What are you doing? Because my mind just goes crazy with how bad things could be getting. I don't know. Part of me wants to give up. Part of me feels like I'm not cut out to do this. I was never cut out to do this. I don't know how I've survived so long doing it, but You making biscuits? You want some pets? Every time I try to get him on camera, he like turns his head away. But yeah, I'm still just having a rough time of it, I guess. I got a little bit of reading done. I did start Napoli Ever After. I got a few chapters in and it hits the ground running. It hits the ground at the very opening with, not the very first chapter, but the second chapter, I think, is where she cuts off her hair. So far, I am loving it. I'm loving it so much. The narrator, I think, is doing a fantastic job with all the different characters and the voices. The book is written in an interesting style. When it's from the perspective of the main character, it's in first person. And then when it switches to anybody else, her fiance or the girl that the fiance ends up getting with after they break up, it's it's third person. I don't know that I've read a book written in that kind of style. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I do like it. I'm starting to like first person more. I used to hate it, and a lot of the books that I've read lately have been first person, and I've been growing more accustomed to it. So this is an interesting split. But I do like it. I'm enjoying it. So like I said, the narrator's absolutely wonderful. What are you doing? Did you just lick my ear? Okay. I'm loving the writing, the description of how she feels when she's cut her hair, the empowerment, the freedom, and the fear that comes along with it. I am really enjoying it, and I am gonna try to have that finished hopefully by this weekend. I don't know. When I'm home and I'm not working, it's a lot harder for me to get reading done, which is actually really, really strange. But on my commute to work, or as I'm sitting there working for 8-9 hours a day, it's pretty easy to have an audiobook in. But when I'm not working, I tend to be busy with other stuff. Excuse you. You're really all up in my camera, huh? Errands, stuff around the house, helping out friends that, need some help, that kind of stuff. I don't really end up with a lot of like quiet time on my time off, which is weird, but we'll see. I definitely need to get it done, obviously, before the book goes back to Libby. So I got to make that a priority. But yeah, really, really liking it so far. So when I have more updates, I will make another. What are you doing? You're not even headbutting me, you're headbutting the pillow. So I will check in with you guys later when I have more to update. Say goodbye, Link. Thursday morning for less than 60 seconds, and then it'll be Thursday afternoon. Just got back from the bank, had to do some paperwork. I'm a signer on one of my dad's bank accounts as a precautionary in case anything ever happened to him, sort of thing. And that was put on like 15 years ago, so we had to update the paperwork and all my information and stuff. Just got home and I'm about to log into work on my day off for the third day off in a row. By choice, I've been saying, I have this huge project that I have to get done, and I promise it would be done today. So I'm gonna try to get that knocked out and then not work. Tomorrow is my final day of vacation, and then there's 2 days off for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then I'll have 2 days on the weekend. So I'll still have a pretty good stretch of actually not working. So yeah.
One extremely annoying shift later.
Sunday night at almost midnight, so it's almost Monday morning. I have to go to work tomorrow. I am just now getting into bed. I have to do Wordle. I've only got like 15 minutes left to do Wordle for today. Wow, are you okay? Sorry, my cats are apparently deciding this is now the time for zoomies / fighting. I had an okay day. I went over to a friend's house at around 4. We stayed until almost 8. She's the sweetest person. She is, I think, almost 90 now. And she had her whole family over, and she wanted us to come over to meet her great grandkids, which my mom actually has met before, but I have not. And she wanted my dad to come along because she hasn't seen him in a very long time. And she's funny because she calls my brother her son. She just adores my brother, and for a long time. I mean, we met her when I was 9 or 10 years old, I think is when we met her. We went to the same congregation, and she just fell in love with my family, which was really, really sweet. And she has just been that kind of motherly figure ever since. And so she'll call my mom sometimes and, how's my son doing? And asking how my brother is. So because of the pandemic, we really haven't seen her, because with her age and, health conditions, we didn't want to risk exposing her to anything. So now that the pandemic has kind of gotten to the point that it is, and everybody's vaccinated, everybody's boosted, we felt a lot more comfortable kind of being around her. And so anyway, we went over tonight, and her great grandkids put on some performances for us, which was really, really sweet because, interestingly enough, she is the widow of a Motown singer who was quite famous in his heyday. And I'm not gonna name drop. I'm not gonna say who he was, but he died quite a long time ago. And her sons are both really talented singers in their own right. One of them actually is a professional singer. He tours with a very, very famous Motown musician. And so, but what was really cool about it was her great grandkids were singing her husband's music. And to see, little kids at like 6, 7 years old singing their great grandfather's songs was, I mean, it kind of gave me little heart palpitations and goosebumps. It was really, really cool. Her husband died a very long time ago. I never met him. I grew up most of my life just knowing her as, kind of this auntie, / motherly figure. And I was fully an adult before I found out that she was the widow of a really famous Motown singer. And then it wasn't until even years after that I found out more about her husband and circumstances of his death and things, and just things that I didn't know. I just knew her as, Dee, basically. And she's just the sweetest, sweetest person. So we went over and I made her favorite dessert that I'm thinking about now. I might post the recipe for and actually put in one of my vlogs, actually making it. I call it pistachio. I don't call it. It's my aunt's recipe. She calls it pistachio bread. It is chef's kiss perfection, delicious, one of my absolute favorite desserts of my entire life. It's a loaf of bread that is basically pistachio cake, and it's fantastic. And my aunt is just famous for it in the family. Nobody's ever been able to duplicate her recipe except her daughter, my cousin, the same one that I do my Zoom brunches with, and me, which I find absolutely wild because the recipe, she gave it to me, and I'm like, and I remember making it with her and my cousin when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is it? This is like making cake. And she's like, yeah, it's like stupid easy. And I'm like, how can nobody duplicate this recipe? This is like the easiest thing in the world. You throw everything in a bowl, mix it together, throw it in 2 bread loaf pans, and you're done. I don't know. To me, it's a mystery that people can't make this. Anyway, it's delicious, and everybody who's ever had it loves it. So I might throw it into a vlog one day. Hopefully nobody will kill me for, releasing the family secret, but Dee absolutely loves it, and so I made 2 whole loaves because I knew her whole family was going to be there. And when I came and I told her that I'd brought her some of the pistachio bread, she's like, I'm not letting anybody have it. And I'm like, well, I brought 2 loaves of it. And she's like, nope, they're gonna have to fight me for it. And I'm like, you are not gonna fight your family over this dessert. I'm like, listen, if they eat it and you didn't know or you didn't give them permission, I'm like, just call me. I'll make you some more. I'll bring it over. So it was a really nice night. We got to hear a lot of music and performances and just talk and catch up. And I know her and one of her sons quite well. And like I said, I first met her, I think when I was like 9. Her other son and then his kids and the grandkids of him, so her great grandkids, I did not really know that well. I met her other son, I think once or twice, but my brother knows him really well. So it's kind of funny because I think really the family was closer to my brother than to me. But since he's been gone, I've sort of been surrogated into it. And I looked up on her wall and she has this old picture of her and her husband, and I think just their oldest boy, and I think maybe her sister-in-law and brother-in-law, I'm not really sure. But it's a really old family portrait, and along the frame are stuck little pictures of other people, really, really close actual family members. And then there's this picture of these 2 white kids stuck in the frame, and I look up there and I'm like, oh my God, that's my high school picture. And it's me and my brother, because my brother never took high school pictures. So when I did my high school pictures, we actually went and did like an actual photographer instead of like a high school picture photography. Like we went to an actual photo studio and had like regular pictures taken. And I think it's like weird to say, but like, there's high school pictures where it's like, it looks like high school pictures. And I didn't want to do that. We wanted nice pictures that my family could have of us that didn't look like high school pictures. So my brother and I ended up like, playing chess and, doing different things. And so she has this picture of me and my brother in the family photo in her wall, which is, I just think that's incredibly sweet. And on her fridge, she has like the entire fridge is covered in photos. And I expected our photos to be there, but no, my parents' photo is there, but our photo is in her family photo. And I just thought that was really, really sweet. So that was so nice to meet the rest of her family. And something somebody said to me recently, when somebody shares their family with you, that's something really special. So, yeah, I felt really special and very loved for 4 hours today, by somebody outside of my blood relations that are like chosen family. And so that was nice. I was well distracted from my mental health struggles from this week. So I was really grateful for that. My depression and anxiety are a tiny bit better. I don't know. I don't know. I'm used to, like I said, I'm used to the anxiety. I am not used to the depression. That is so foreign to me. And I'm still, having dealt with people in my life, my entire life, that suffer from depression, I am feeling extremely ill-equipped still to deal with it myself. And to even admit to my friends and family that I am depressed. I don't know, like part of me, I don't want to scare them. And part of me is I feel like I don't have a right to be depressed, even though I know, and I've had this exact conversation with people in my life, depression is a condition. You don't deserve it or not deserve it. You know, you don't need to feel guilty for feeling depression. It just exists. It's like you don't feel guilty for having cancer. You don't feel guilty for, you know, having a dyslexia. You have it or you don't. Like, and I find myself, I think, falling into all of the same stigmas that I have tried to convince other people don't need to be stigmas. So it adds an interesting dynamic of extra frustration, extra guilt to it after, you know, telling people for so long that it's okay to have it. You know, you don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to be ashamed of it. So I don't know. Part of me feels like a hypocrite, which just adds guilt on top of it, which I also know is a facet of having, you know, this issue. So anyway, I'm going to try to have a positive attitude and try to not let my anxiety just rule me, because that's really the bigger of the two. Like, the depression is one thing, but the anxiety being that catalyst of you have to act or something terrible is going to happen, but you don't know what. You don't know what you could do. You don't know what the bad thing is. You just have this like constant terror in the back of your mind. So I'm just going to do the best I can and see how it goes. So as the week goes on, I will let you guys know. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for, you know, being kind to each other in the comments. And, you know, if you have something to share, experiences or advice or anything, please let me know. Shout it out. I want to hear from you. So, like I said, it's about midnight. I got to get up early tomorrow and go to the office. So I'm going to go to bed now. I'll talk to you later. Just a little bit of a reading update. I have started Becoming Madame Mao by An Chi Min, and I've read a few of her books before, and I really liked all of them. So this is the story of, it's a fictionalized version of what her life might have been. The woman who married Mao Zedong. And so it's collected from letters and diary entries and all the historical information she can find, and then filling in the personal life details. It's written in a really interesting style. I don't know that I've ever seen a book written this way. And I know I said that for how Nappily Ever After was written. This is really interesting too. So it will have the historical piece in third person, where it's probably information gleaned from public records, letters, diaries, those kinds of things. And then it'll have a paragraph or two of that, of like the event that happened. You know, she moved to Shanghai, or she left Shanghai, she moved to Yan'an. And then it'll immediately in the next paragraph flip to first person, and it's Madame Mao basically remembering her life and talking about it in the past tense. And she talks about how she felt about that event that just happened, what her thought process is, what her emotions are, what her motivations are. And it's a really weird writing style. And it took me a while to get used to it, but I actually quite like it. I think it's very effective for the story that she's trying to tell. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna say that this is a historically accurate novel by any means, but I am enjoying it as a inspired by true events kind of thing. I also got in Libby just today or yesterday, I think The Stationery Shop, and I can't remember the author's name on that. They did not have an audiobook version of it. It is just an ebook, and Madame Mao is actually, Becoming Madame Mao is also an ebook. So I'm currently reading the first one. I don't remember where I left off. Sorry, I got distracted. Somebody called for my attention. So I'm reading Becoming Madame Mao. I'm probably 30% of the way through it. Ebook on Kindle, and then I have The Stationery Shop that I also checked out through Libby, so that's through Kindle, that I've not started yet, but I did end up going through the checkout and borrowing it. So I'm hoping to get that started sometime this week. We will see. I'm in the office this week. I was going to film an update at the office. I got there at around 7:30, and the first time I was able to slow down and take a break was at 4:30 p.m. I didn't even finish the coffee that I brought in the morning. Today was hectic. I'm glad that I was in the office today for the reason that I got to talk to my boss about some stuff that I've been having some really strong anxiety about, and she kind of calmed me down and made me feel a little bit better. I was not happy to be in the office today because it is the first work day after the Thanksgiving weekend, which could be another surge of COVID in the country. And based on trends and things, their experts aren't really expecting a huge surge like there has been in past years. The numbers in my area have been medium community spread, but compared to other times throughout the year, it's quite low by comparison. So theoretically everything should be fine. Even though I was in a room by myself with my air filter going, I did not take my mask off the whole day. I had two people who I had to work with on doing some training for them. So I had them in there a few times. I had a lot of close contact with people today, and my anxiety was not happy about it. So at 4 o'clock, I left the building and I went and sat in my car. It's the only place that I felt comfortable taking my mask off, and I wasn't going to stand outside because it's winter and it's freezing. So I'm hoping I don't really have like full-blown anxiety attacks about it. I don't know. We'll see. I go days on end where I'm like not afraid of COVID, not to the point of being reckless by any means, but like I'm just like, no, it's a thing. It's not that scary. And then I'll have days where it's just pure anxiety. So, yeah. I will have some more work updates hopefully tomorrow. I think the timing on this vlog is going to be really weird. Usually by Saturday, Sunday, I've finished filming. I had such a crazy vacation time with so much depression, so much anxiety that I just didn't film anything. So, yeah, I'm kind of lagging behind, and I'm making it up now kind of on the front end of this week. So I'm hoping I'll get a lot of reading done, because now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I'm wanting to read more. So as I come up with some more reading updates, I will let you guys know. Last update of this vlog. It is Tuesday afternoon. You can kind of see the sunset a little bit. Yes, the sunset at 5:10 p.m. I'm staring at a pond full of ducks. Oh, there's a bunch of ducks landing. Ducks landing full force in water is hilarious. I love ducks. Who doesn't love ducks? Anyway, not gotten any additional reading done, but I did manage to take a break before 4 p.m. So I'm counting that as a win today. I think I got an audiobook in on Libby this morning, so I might do that because I gotta get some reading done. This week has been hectic, but better, and I feel like I'm in a better headspace, and I'm very happy about that. But then I have that anxiety that is like, oh, you think things are going okay? That means something terrible is around the corner. Here, be anxious about that now. So, I don't know. That's life. That's life when you have anxiety, I guess. What are you gonna do? I'm on my way home now. I probably need to stop and get gas, but per usual, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna roll the dice and see how it goes. So, I'm gonna end the vlog here, and hopefully starting tomorrow I will have some more reading updates for either Becoming Madame Mao, or I think the book from Libby is Upgrade, which is kind of a sci-fi, which I'm really interested in because it's going to be my first sci-fi in a very, 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 very long time. So I can't wait to get started on that, and I'm really, really hopeful I'm going to love it because it's a genre that I love to watch. And I used to love to read as a kid, but I have not had any reading of sci-fi really as an adult. So I am really hoping I'm going to like it because I'm always looking for new genres to fall in love with. So I think that is going to be the start of my next vlog, which I will start filming tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a lovely week. Be safe out there, be kind to each other, and I'll see you soon.